I think that's I
Right?
went and did a bid for a lady in Highland Park last week, and she had a garage conversion. She added 200 square feet, so 600 square feet. She's getting 2,100 a month in rent for a garage,
Yeah.
and then her neighbor was getting 2,300. I don't know what kind of tenants they got, but they got tenants paying that much. And then she was going to kill her brand new kitchen in the master bedroom to turn it into a junior ADU. So they're 1,800, right? And she's going to be basically mortgage free.
Hi, everybody. This is Jose Luis Morales. Welcome back to the Morales Group Show. This is episode number 52. Today, we've got a very special guest. His name is Sam Weaver. He's a real estate educator. He's a real estate investor. He's flipped hundreds upon hundreds of properties. Somebody that's very well seasoned in the real estate industry. Welcome to the show, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, man. I'm
Excited.
excited. So we're mutual friends on Facebook, and I just see flip this, flip that, ADU here, construction here. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
who is this Sam Weaver? Let's connect with him. Let's see what he's all about.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, like just a little bit of background. Can you give our viewers just a little bit of background of who Sam Weaver is and kind of like what your experience as it relates to real estate has been?
Sure. I started out, I came down here from Northern California. I'm a
Uh-huh.
NorCal boy
Uh-huh.
from above Sacramento, and followed a girl down here, and I've been here ever since. But I took a job in the
Uh-huh.
90s because they were hiring teachers off the street, and I needed to prove to her parents that I wasn't a loser. So I took a job as an elementary school teacher, but that's not what I wanted to do with my life. I started reading books, self-help books. One of the most influential was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I literally exclaimed out loud, "Oh my gosh, this is me. This guy's describing me to a T."
Uh-huh.
And so that's when I really started to kind of look at other options. I loved teaching. It was a nice job, but that's not what I was intended to do with my life. Anyway, mom and dad were happy, right? Degree, got a good job, job, bills, can pay my bills, benefits, all the stuff that we're supposed to do. But that's not what fulfilled me. And so I started looking at other things, started reading a lot of books, had a good friend that we were reading some of the books together. My first stunt in real estate was actually like 2001 during the summer. And my buddies and I, other teachers, we thought we'd flip some houses. And we tried and we couldn't compete with the cash buyers. We had no idea because we were going to just try to use a normal loan.
Uh-huh.
And as you know, in this business, it's all cash or you're not going to get the deal or you're not going to get a good deal. So uh, kept trying, tried, failed. And then in 2005, I was introduced to a guy named Walt Ferrari as a loan officer, a loan broker to help me do loans. And I found out that guy had been investing in flipping houses for years, 30 plus years.
Mhm.
And I didn't let that guy go. I basically did everything I could to create value for him. I worked for free for him for a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
We probably did 100 deals together in
Wow.
that short period. A lot of those were out of state,
Uh-huh.
some here in California. And I just sat and listened. I really did. I just sit and kind of watch this guy. He's so good at sales, and he was so good at disarming people right at the door, right away. And so I got to just watch that. And then I partnered with another gentleman, Darren Wells, in 2008.
Mhm.
Left teaching January 09. Said I kind of got that curtain call from Darren. He's like, "Hey, if you want to do this, you got to go full time." So that's one of the biggest challenges is when you actually have to quit a job.
Yeah.
You're right. I had little kids, and it was scary. I remember going to my wife, "Honey, this is my opportunity." '08 is the big crash, right? So there's this huge opportunity. Walt decided to hang up his boots because he thought it was kind of the end. And anyway, so Darren had been flipping houses 25 years, got introduced to him, and then we just went. I was real good at raising capital.
Mhm.
That was always kind of my thing.
Mhm.
And so I brought in the money, and we had a third partner. And so that was Missing Link Financial. We did a whole bunch of deals from '08 to 2011.
Good for you,
And
man.
then um, I kept running into people that I saw that were getting kind of scammed or they were going to lose money
Mhm.
along the way. And I felt bad. They'd pay like $50 to $80,000 to a guru and really didn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so, I guess I have a teacher's heart. And so, Fortune Weavers, my company, was really created out of a result of watching other people get taken advantage of. And I was like, we got to do it different. So, created Fortune Weavers as a flipping company and also as an education company. That's what it was created for. And here we are. This is my 16th year in the business, and it looks really good from this angle now. It didn't look so good in the beginning because you didn't know what you were doing. But now, I'd like to say I've mastered it, but there's always things I learn. I got a new one today that I haven't dealt with. Another curveball where I'm like, oh, I haven't run across that one. And so you just learn. You get knocked down, get back up. But yeah, so it's been a great journey. It's been a blessing to my family. Changed our lives, and so now I feel like it's my responsibility to help others do the same thing and be able to escape the 9 to 5 if that's what they want.
Agreed. Not only that, but like I think you touched on something important. Like whenever you start educating or helping other people, it forces you to like learn your craft to like another level. Because it happened to me, like whenever I started mentoring some real estate agents, they would ask me some questions and I would have to like really think about it and really make sure that I understood what I was saying so that I could be able to explain it to them in a way where it made sense. So whenever I started mentoring agents, it actually made me a much better real estate agent because of that. I wanted to ask you, because you said that your first mentor, you found them and you said, I'm going to go work for free for this person. I have met people in my life who basically think the opposite of that. What I mean by that is that they meet the right person who can take them to the next level. And they're like, oh man, I deserve $200,000 and they don't have a resume for anything. So what made you want to work for somebody like that for free? What was the mindset? And would you say that it was worth it? Like, I mean, you weren't getting paid. Was that experience worth it for you in your life?
That's a good question. So, I didn't work for free because I had to. I didn't think that that's the way it was going to be. The mindset was he had what I wanted and I was willing to do what I needed to get it. Right. And that's the thing is, you see somebody who has what you want, you better spend some time with them.
Yeah.
He did not want to teach or coach me. Matter of fact, the guy that I was learning real estate with, he went and gave another particular guru quite a bit of money. And I didn't have that. I was a teacher, starting out. I didn't have a lot of money, and so lots of bills. And so a funny story goes with this. So, I'm paying to go out of state. I'm paying for my flights. I'm paying for my hotel stays. So I'm not making money, but I'm spending money. I'm taking a bunch of investors out of state. And my wife goes along the way. Hey, our credit card bills are stacking up. You need to ask this guy if you can get paid. So I go to Walt and I say, hey, man, I've been bringing you lots of investors and stuff like that. Do you think I could get do you think I could get paid? And he goes, hell, Sam, I thought you'd never ask. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you got to learn to ask for what you want in life because no one's just going to give it to you.
Wow.
I said, well, Walt, what if I'd asked you 6 months ago? He goes, heck yeah, I would have paid you.
Wow.
And the funny thing, I go, how about retro? He said, no chance, right? No chance. Good learning lessons. So he was a great teacher and he's still a friend. He's moved to Las Vegas now, so we don't get to hang out anymore because I'm not out there. But it was great to have that. But yeah, the mindset was he had what I wanted. I knew that he was doing it, and I knew he was the real thing, and so I was not going to let him go without teaching me. So I pushed the limits a little bit, and I created value. I brought value to him. I brought him investors, right? And so I got to be a part of it as a result of that.
And that's what people don't understand. And Napoleon Hill talks about it too, that if you focus on adding value to people, eventually, I mean, you add enough value, these people are going to be like, man, this guy is great. I want to keep him around. How can I keep him around? How can I help him? Can I make him a partner in my deals? And that's essentially the way to basically succeed in life. So good for you, man, for recognizing that at an early age. That's not something that everybody recognizes from the beginning. So take us back to your first couple of deals with Sam. What was your role? What did those deals look like, and what lessons did you learn early on in your real estate career?
So early on is learning. I call it learn to learn to listen, right? When you're dealing with distressed homeowners, I watched
Uh-huh.
Walt with the ability to disarm somebody. Oftentimes he would put his hands in the air and say, I'm not here to sell you anything.
Uh-huh.
When it's a distressed house, in public record, people are going through hardship.
Yeah.
But learning to not speak so much, learning to listen was a huge lesson for me,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times we want to talk, because we want to get our message across. And one of
Yeah.
the best lessons I learned is to really try to understand where someone else is coming from and
Uh-huh.
be able to solve a problem. So that was one of the early lessons for me. A lot of those, you know, and not to be afraid of major flips. There's one in particular that's memorable for me because someone had been murdered in the house.
Oh, wow.
Right? It was a drug deal gone wrong. You could see the bullet holes in the wall still, and you could still actually see the blood stains on the cement. The carpet had been ripped out. And so I could see this. So Walt asked me if I wanted to take that one on my own. And I thought about it. I was like, nah, there's too much bad juju here. I better not. Neighbor was squawking a lot. So Walt did that one on his own without me and made 100,000. And this is out in Oklahoma where properties, that property probably was purchased for, I don't know, 75. And, but he made 100,000 on it and kind of rubbed it in my face a little bit and said, you can't be afraid of, bad juju. Right. So that was a good learning lesson in that one. Lots of stories along the way. Right. So I think that's the great thing about being here is, all the things that I can tell people about what not to do versus what to do sometimes, because I've already paid the price.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's priceless essentially, because when you can kind of tell somebody like as a mentor, hey, look, don't do this because this is going to happen. It's invaluable.
Yeah. It is. And I say no way more than I say yes. And people don't like it. People don't like to be told no. They really don't. But I keep telling people the best deals are the ones you walk away from because they didn't hurt you. And, a lot of different ways to look at the business, but yeah, we think it's simple. You can get stung in this business for sure if you don't make the right decisions. So anyway,
let me ask you this, because I know that you talked about like a complete fixer, like that property that had blood all over the place. Are those typically the best flips, or what would make a good flip opportunity in a property?
Oh goodness, there's you can find good opportunity on cosmetic flips. I mean, we're all looking for those. But yeah, we tend to do the houses with major foundation. I would say half of our flips have major foundation issues. So we've really learned that process well. We're taking things to the studs, and here in Southern California in particular, we tend to focus a lot on the LA market. There's a lot of stuff in the hills. There's been some major earthquakes. There's always foundation issues. But the best flips to me are, it depends on how you buy them. If you're buying it off the MLS, yeah, it's got to have a lot of damage. If you're buying direct to a homeowner, a lot of times it's just your ability to negotiate, right, and negotiate a price. So I don't think that a major fixer is necessarily better than a light fixer. It's always about your ability to negotiate the deal.
Yeah. What percentage would you say is off the market inventory that you find direct to owner versus on the MLS type of opportunities for your company now?
Yeah, Jose Luis, that's a good question. So it's changed over the years, right? So 2 years ago, it was about 90% direct to homeowner. And then we brought on some acquisition specialists, and they were doing stuff on the MLS mainly. And so then we kind of went 90% MLS. And now we're about 50-50. But what I'm teaching people is direct to homeowner. That's where you get the best deals. The MLS is so competitive right now. That the highest bidder is usually the first loser. And so I try to go direct to homeowner. I think that's the best route. As a realtor, you're not going to like that. I'm in the business as well. I'm a licensed broker. So it's something that I understand that, but that $20,000-$30,000 commission, sometimes more, is money that you don't have to pay if you're direct to homeowner, right? Because they have their price regardless, right? So hopefully that answers your question, but it's about 50-50 right now.
So if somebody wanted to get good at finding like direct owner, because this is what I tell the people, I mean, if you want to buy investment properties, I mean, a lot of people think that money is the issue. Like, I don't have enough money to purchase it. What I tell people is if you've got the deal, I mean, the money will come. If you have a good enough of an opportunity, I mean, you can team up with somebody like you can team up with somebody like me. I mean, the opportunity is there. I think it comes down to finding the opportunity. So what would you say like are some of the strategies that you teach some of your students as a direct to owner type of thing? Is it like phone
Sure.
calls, text messages, door knocking, foreclosures,
Mhm.
probates? What would you say?
Yeah. So it's all of the above, and I tell people it's what you're comfortable with,
Hmm.
but whatever it is, stay consistent. One of my partners in the business is Matt Polani,
Uh-huh.
and Matt is the bandit sign king. He's got signs all over Orange County, LA County. No matter where you go, he's got these signs.
Uh-huh.
So bandit signs are a good way to go direct to homeowner. We have a lot of success with those, and but really, you named it all. So I'm not a big foreclosure fan, I'll tell you, because about 90% of those people want to keep their house,
Yeah.
and so it's a lot longer of a process, in
Mhm.
my opinion. I know everybody's going after those because they're low lying fruit, and they will be again in the near future.
Yeah.
But we're doing a lot of door knocking. That's our best success. I would say cold calling is, that's a tough one.
Mhm.
Cold calling we do, but it's a tougher situation. A lot of mailers. We've had a lot of success with postcards lately
Mhm.
with the picture of the person's house. We use Deal Machine for that. Um, but we do a lot of ringless voicemail drops. We do a lot of text messaging, and we create relationships with realtors like yourself, right? We have a lot of relationships that we try to foster and take care of. And so, but the best way, in my opinion, right now, in particular, even though we have COVID, is door knocking. It's our little secret weapon, because we're doing, I mean, as I speak right now, we have people out doing it, and we're getting appointments every week as a result.
And would you say that you're like door knocking like an entire neighborhood, or are you like selecting like the ugly homes? What I mean by that, like the homes that look
Sure.
like they need the most work, that got like the blue tarp, or what would you say as it relates to that?
So we are door knocking a neighborhood, and they're usually neighborhoods that are a little older,
Uh
a lot
huh.
of single story houses in the LA County market. And we have the luxury of owning a construction company.
Uh huh.
And so we tend to go more towards construction, and we've added solar as well. So that's, we call it kind of the side door, because when you go to a homeowner and you ask them if they want to sell their house, their immediate response is no. No one wants to sell their house. If you can knock on the right door, but the odds are against it.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that's been a blessing to us is going in through the construction angle.
I mean,
So
I would imagine that that helps like people that maybe call in for a kitchen decide that they want to get out of California and they
yeah.
want to just sell
Mhm.
fast. They call in to get an ADU because they're having financial problems, and basically they decide they want to get out of California. So I think it just opens up opportunities for people. But let me ask you this: if somebody wanted to get in real estate investing, but they didn't have 500,000 in cash, or they didn't have $1 million in cash, what options would somebody like that have at their disposal to be able to maybe still get a good deal on a property and maybe still do a flip?
Yeah, I think you had said it earlier. I think it's a really good idea to continue to create relationships with people that do have money or that are actively flipping. The right deal comes along. Just as you said earlier, I wouldn't be opposed to possibly joint venturing with the right person.
Mhm.
Um, our model isn't necessarily set up that way.
Mhm.
So, you know, money really, just like you said, the deal, again, wholesaling is a thing that we really like right now. Wholesaling, I'll give you an example. We just had one of our students wholesale a deal in Wilmington, made $66,000 on the wholesale. If we'd flipped it with hard money, with all those costs and the construction process, we would have netted about 45 to 50. So we actually made more
Mhm.
wholesaling in that situation, in particular, than we would have flipping. So there's a lot of, the thing I love about real estate is there's a ton of exit strategies.
Mhm.
I can get, maybe I can do a little work to it and turn it into a rental.
Mhm.
If you made me the right deal, I would do that. Again, we have the construction resources and stuff like that, where we can finance the construction part, things like that are little secret weapons that, somebody who didn't have the money. But I would tell you this, I actually think raising money is very easy.
Mhm.
Most people are just, it's a subject that's taboo and most people don't like talking about it. But, I would say, hey, offer someone 50% of the profit, to fund your deal. Even if you're using hard money, have someone put up 150,000 to make
Mhm.
half of 100, right? They do that all day long. So I think that's a great way to do it. You know, Again, I didn't start with any money. I was a teacher. So, again, I think you got to start to watch YouTube videos and really read up on raising capital and learn to ask the same question over and over. Hey, if I could make you 50% profit on a flip, would you be willing to maybe look at a deal with me?
Yeah.
If I could, would you? And see where it goes from there. You ask enough people that, you're going to find one that's actually going to say, oh, definitely. And then you might find out that they have 500 to a million, right?
Yeah.
And then you're off to the races because you can do a lot of deals with that money.
So I think you touched on something important, because I think sometimes people just look at real estate one dimensional, meaning I buy like a rental, I put 20% down, I hold on to it long term, principal gets paid down. But you talked about like wholesaling as well too. So there's flipping, and a lot of people see those shows like Flip Your House, HGTV, and they somewhat understand what that is. But for those that don't understand what wholesaling, it's also a different exit strategy. What would wholesaling be? How would you describe wholesaling?
Yeah, really, wholesaling is, doing some of the hard, like what we teach. We have people out spending money on marketing, they're door knocking, they put a house under contract, they have the opportunity to buy it. But I often say, hey, look, we had one in May in Long Beach where, under contract, we had raised the money to flip it, and the profitability with hard money would have been 250,000.
Wow.
And I asked her, I said, hey, we have an investor that, that usually invests with us, but he would like to flip a house. I know he would take this, and we were partnering on it. I said, you could have 100,000 in your bank account next Friday. Talk to your husband. She came back and she's like, we'll take the money. And so in 2 weeks, 200,000 wholesale deal, or wait 4 to 6 months, and who knows what's going to happen in the construction process with a contractor and all that to make 250. So sometimes I like a guaranteed thing, and wholesaling gives you that element. My wife always says that she wished I'd wholesaled a lot more, because I always thought wholesalers were people that didn't know how to flip. So I had that kind of ego. Like, the only reason why you're wholesaling is because you don't know how to raise capital, or you don't know how to flip. So you're just a poser. And the reality is I got myself into some spots along the way where I'd wished I'd wholesaled some of those deals.
Yeah, where you could have maybe cashed out without having to do with the work. So let me ask you this, like, you bring up an important point, because sometimes people want to get into flipping and they look at like all these HGTV shows, they see $100,000 profit. What are some of the things that could go wrong in the middle of a flip? Like, and I think that's the part that sometimes people don't look at. They look at like the potential profit, but they don't look at the potential risk as well too associated with that.
Sure, I'll give you some examples of things that can go wrong. They've happened. One of these is, we have one up in the Eagle Rock area right now where, we did we looked at the property. We didn't get a home inspection, which I tell people, get a home inspection. Make sure you do that. So we didn't get underneath the house, and we saw huge cracks the size of, I don't know, my thumb or larger, all throughout the footings. So we had to underpin the entire project and re-pour footings. You're talking $30,000 of work with us. Another contractor might charge 50. For some people, that's their profit. So that's foundation work can get really expensive. So that's one that I always say, you always want to make sure you check on foundations, because that could be a stinger along the way. I'll give you another example. Up in Highland Park, we're walking a property. All these investors are coming through. We know we have competition, and it's about 5 feet up from the street. So it's on the corner lot, 5 feet up from the street, and there's a brand new retaining wall. It's holding 5 feet of earth, right, along the left side of the property. And everybody I was with, no one caught the fact that that might be a problem. So the house has foundation issues. There's that. And so I asked my team, I was like, what the real issue with that property is? And they're like, what? I go, you got a brand new 5-foot retaining wall with no weep holes. Means they did not pull permits. It's holding 5 feet of earth. And I guarantee you, when you pull permits, because that was a property that would absolutely need permits. It was pretty messed up. Your inspector is going to go, hey, how about that retaining wall right there? $50,000 maybe. It was probably 70 feet long with holding 5 feet of earth, right? Big expense. Yeah. That could hurt you if you don't know, and you're walking a property and they were all talking about how great the fact that was a brand new retaining wall. I was like, yeah, but it wasn't done to code.
Yeah.
And you got to know that, and you got to understand retaining walls and earth movement and stuff like that. So I look at those things. I don't just look at the cosmetics. I always look at what could hurt me financially. And it usually relates to, settling because of water, drainage issues, or the earth is moving, sewer lines that are broken all the way to the street. Have a lot of that in Northeast LA.
Yeah.
If you're in the hills, things like that. And now again, some of the big mistakes is people are doing, the lipstick on a pig and not really doing good rehabs, and then they wonder why it's not selling for as much as it should. So it's really changed. 10 years ago we were doing minimal rehabs. Now your staging, your rehabs have to be top notch, because people are picky because of HGTV. They look at that stuff, and you better do it. You better make it look good. So anyway, I could go on and on, just so you know.
Yeah.
So just over the years,
I
lots of things that have hurt me on particular projects, but those are some of the major ones.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing too, because sometimes people they don't want to wholesale a deal because they want to take the entire pie. Where sometimes, I mean, there's risk involved, meaning the real estate market doesn't go up forever. The real estate market could change like that. It happened last March when the whole Corona pandemic hit. The real estate market, there was about a month where things were like, man, like what's going to happen? Obviously, it got a lot better after that, but I think those are some of the things that people don't factor in. You also brought up a point that you said that you garnish relationships with real estate agents. As a real estate agent, I've had some clients that I love to work with, man, that I'm just like, man, I would love to work with these people again. But I've also had clients that I'm like, man, like these guys just beat me up on everything. Like I end the deal and I don't even feel like wanting to talk to them very much. Why would it be good to garnish relationships? I think most people look at relationships with real estate agents as I'm making them money, versus the opposite, which could be they're making me money by bringing me a deal sometimes. And I know that having the right real estate partners can actually be beneficial, but sometimes people don't realize that. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Absolutely. So realtors are our boots on the ground, right? They're the extension of us. They're out there marketing. They're doing their Zillow marketing. They may be door knocking. They're sending out mailers. They know their farm area very well. For all of you that don't know what a farm is, it's a fixed area real estate market.
Yeah.
Right. So it's an area where you know what's going on in that neighborhood. I can't be everywhere at once. I only have my 24 hours in a day, and some of those I'm sleeping, right? And so what a great relationship with a realtor does is it's a friendship, it's a communication. And usually the people you don't want to work with are the ones that aren't communicating with you, and maybe they're doing a wholesale thing they didn't tell you. One thing I'll always do, I'll always be transparent, and I'll say, hey, there's the only reason why I would wholesale this is this reason. I'm going to tell you. Most of the time we're going to flip that house. And I like to make realtors money. I like everybody that works with me. I want you to make money. I don't want I'm not looking to get one over on you. I want long-term relationships, because at some point this is going to go back to the way it was, kind of like during that first month of March where it went crickets for a while. Right? So March, April was a little weird, and it will go. Remember, so when the market crashed in 2008, it was crickets. Everybody ran for cover. No one knew what was going to happen with the market. And I actually think that, construction costs went down. We were flipping houses for under $30,000. It was crazy, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there will be a time like that. Maybe not quite as bad as 2008, 2009, 10, but it will go back to that time where money isn't free flowing like it is now. And those relationships with realtors, when you work together as a team, that's where you make each other money. You help each other out. I love to help people out with construction, and I tend to give back, right? I always try to find ways to give back. We're probably picking up 2 ADUs a week right now, just construction side, right? Major renovations for people like Property Brothers, with our designers. And so those come from a lot of realtors. It's not just about flipping houses. It's not like I have one of the realtors I work with, it didn't make sense for her client to sell the property and go buy another one. So we're building a 1,000 square foot ADU because it's 2 families living in a house. We're doing it at a fair price. They're happy as can be. I'm going to give her, a marketing fee on it as I can, and she's going to make up some of that money she didn't get on the listing, right? So it's just about taking care of people. And everybody asks me, well, do you let people list it on the back? Hey, if the numbers are there and that's the agreement, absolutely. I don't care if I'm a broker or I could, if we have that communication, no doubt about it, right? And so it's just about taking care of people and being a person of your word.
And knowing that sometimes the relationship is worth a lot more than just basically like a deal, like risking your reputation for a deal. It's not worth it. Like, I mean, I've had agents bring me deals and we're both agents and I'm like, hey, I'm happy to pay their commission. I'm happy to pay them
Sure.
a bonus on it. And that way they're like enticed to bring us more opportunities. And sometimes I get people that just want basically that deal. They want a reduction on the price. They want this or that without really caring about the relationship. This is one of the things, Sam, that I think a lot of like newer investors are scared of and somewhat struggle with is estimating repairs on a property. So like you and I could probably go into a property and we'll look at it and we'll know approximately what a reasonable budget would be. Obviously with your experience, how can somebody get better at estimating repairs on properties? Or are there like certain rules of thumbs based on construction costs now?
Well, I'll tell you how I did it. What I did is I made sure I showed up at projects and I asked the contractors a lot of questions. And it was the number one priority for me was to learn construction costs. And because I preach this, if you don't know what something costs, you will pay for it dearly. And I can give you example after example where even the contractors that you think are your best friends, half the time they don't know cost. They don't know what a plumber should cost to repipe a house or an electrician. They don't know what it should cost for a square on a roof. You have to know that. You need to know what foundation repairs cost. Again, because if you don't, someone's going to charge you for that. And so the best way to learn that is online. First of all, it's out there. You can Home Advisor, I think, even has, what things should cost. I think it's a little high, but what I did is I got around contractors and I asked them a million questions and I continue to this day, because now it's deeper, now it's higher level, now it's more foundation work. In the beginning you're learning the basics, right? But I need to know exactly what something should cost and when someone's taking advantage, right? Because a lot of times, like for example, a plumber will charge you the price for copper plumbing to repipe a house when they're using PEX. Well, that's not okay, right? The material cost is 1/3 of the price. Labor's the same, right? So it's those things. But I would say the number one thing to learn after learning how to find deals is not money. It's actually learning what things cost, because the one thing that's hurt me in this business, if you were to ask me that question, has always been contractors in Southern California. In other states, it's not like it is here. But in Southern California, it's always been my contractors taking advantage, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah.
You're saying that out of state is not, that you haven't had that same experience, that it's been mainly here in California.
Only here. We do stuff in other states and contractors care about their reputation. There are so many people in Southern California and so many jobs. We've gone after contractors' licenses before. It didn't stop them. Barely, we don't have the resources. We don't have the recourse in California to really take care of those that kind of sting us. And again, I could go on about that, but it's not the same here. The reputation's not as important to people. There's always another job. Yeah. In other places with smaller communities, you mess up, you're not going to get any other jobs, and you can't put food on the table for your family.
The entire community will find out about it.
A little bit different, yeah. And so the nice thing about flipping houses in other states and being a part of that is to get to see the difference. And gosh, it's so different. I just finished some in Memphis, and so different. Love it. I love that, the humility side of people, and their honesty, and you just don't get it here. Over and over and over, it just keeps happening. Doesn't matter how many flips I've done, contractors try to steal or they try to get one. There's always something.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, and that's why I got my contractor's license. I was like, I need to figure out why these guys are this way. So that was one of the best things I did, right? So I could understand the business. Forced me, just like you said, if you got to get licensed, you better learn the business.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to be doing construction. So it forced me to take it to another level.
And really understand it basically. So basically just showing up and asking questions and kind of getting to know why certain things are a certain way basically would be the best advice. Yeah, because I think it's helpful. Because I mean, I've had clients that want to get into flipping, but they don't understand the repair aspect of it, and it almost paralyzes them because they can't make a decision because they're so scared because they don't know what the repair cost would be. So they're over here bringing 10 contractors to the before they have the property under contract.
Yeah.
And somebody like you may just, I'll give you the 400. This is a smoking deal. I'll take the property. So
yeah, I'll know right away. Right away.
Yeah. Let me do this. What is the largest property that you've ever done in terms of like units or price wise?
Well, I'm doing it now, so so I haven't done it, so it's not complete. But the goal now is to build. We're working on a 10-unit build in Pomona, so ground up. And I learned that I should have kept more properties along the way. And right now, as far as capitalization rate and things like that, the way to get that higher cap rate, over a 5. California is really about a 5% cap rate, but to get double that, you have to be able to build it. So you have to get land cheap and you have to be able to build it. So that's the biggest project I've ever done, or I am a part of. And then I've done stuff in Arcadia. Arcadia is a whole nother kind of little micro bubble in and of itself, where lots of different things there. But I've really stayed. I'll tell you, I started out in the rougher areas. I started out South Central, Compton, Watts, and I love those markets. I think, people always say, well, who wants to move to Compton? Well, plenty of people want to move to Compton. It's a great community. Plenty of people want to move to Watts. I don't think we call it South Central anymore. We call it South LA. But I've really stayed in my lane. And so as far as bigger projects, most of the time I'm staying in projects that are under 2,000 square feet. I've done a few at 3,000. Just, I tend to want to wholesale those bigger projects. They're not my thing. And the more luxurious it gets, I'm not doing Beverly Hills. When stuff people send me, it's out of my lane. I'm not that guy. I don't have that vision. And so I'll send that to somebody that does, that wants that. Realtors love that stuff because they make a bunch of money. And even in Arcadia, we were buying stuff in Arcadia. One of my realtors made $100,000 in 1 month, just on the buy side, so buying properties out there. But yeah, no, I tend to stay in my lane. And so the apartment build is my biggest project to date. And it'll also be the most, money that I'll probably make. It depends on what the goal with that one is to keep it. But those numbers are really good. If you can keep your construction costs down, oh man, I mean, you instant equity. Because if I went and bought a 10-unit building and tried to renovate it, numbers are all right, but nothing like building it from the ground up.
Yeah, essentially. Now, so the goal would be to keep that one versus maybe sell it. But
that's a keeper,
I would imagine. Yeah. So let me ask you this: you flipped a lot of properties. Do you ever go back in time and kind of think like, man, I wish I would have held this one, or I wish I would have held that one, or I wish I would have kept this one at X price?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. My wife makes fun of me, but here's what happens. So, for example, I mean, like in 2011, we were buying in Bakersfield, buying rental properties out there. I bought a 4-unit for $28,000. Gross rents were $2,100. Right? You're spending $28,000. Put about 15 into it. Great cash flow. Rough area. Bought one on East 19th Street for $265. Gross rents $4,200. Wish I had that one back. I basically gave it away to another buy and hold investor for $50,000. That's probably worth over $1 million now, right? Yeah. Even the apartment building. My tax guy told me in 2016 to start liquidating stuff I own because he said the crash was coming. And theoretically it should have. It didn't, because we're still in this thing. It's still going up. And that one, I bought for, I don't know, $265, I think. Another one right in that range from a guy at a gambling issue. And anyway, I sold it to one of our investors for $400,000. It's probably worth $800,000 now, somewhere around there. Those are things I should have kept. I manage it, so now it's even rubbed in my face that much worse, right?
Yeah.
So, I get to see how much it's worth, and we tease each other back and forth. And he goes, "I got you on that one, Sam." But yeah, it happens. It happens. A lot of these, you kind of get in flipper mode. And I always tell people you have to build your portfolio because you can make a lot of money flipping, but you'll never grow wealthy. Wealth is built on, the businesses you invest in, the portfolio you build. the engine of passive income that you can create for yourself. It's never going to be from flipping.
Yeah, I flipped a couple properties, Sam, and it. To be honest, looking back at it now, I was like, man, like I wish I would have kept them. Like I remember I bought one for 270, put maybe like 60,000, was into it by like 350.
Mm-hmm.
I made $30,000 on it. I paid 50% in taxes, like so 30 minus
Right.
50%, it was $15,000. I was like, man, that was a lot of work. I can go out and sell a property and basically make a $15,000 commission versus having to go through all that. And now that same property would be worth in the $500,000 range. Someone is asking in regards to apartment complex or single family residences. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any preference on that? And then after that, I did want to ask you: is it always good for somebody to buy a primary, or is it okay for somebody to rent as well too?
Well, it depends on where you want to live. So let me answer. I'll answer that in two parts.
Uh-huh.
So I love 1 to 4 units.
Uh-huh.
I think there's so much opportunity, especially with ADUs right now, and adding value. Uh, we bought 3 houses on a lot in Pasadena just recently for 720, worth 1.3, 1.4. It's just direct to homeowner type of situation, and we can increase that value if we want. Now we're like, do we keep it? Because 3 houses on a lot in Pasadena is, how do you find that for 720, right? That's not. So I love those, and I love the idea that I can go add ADUs to those and really increase cash flow, you know, especially. And if you can buy, for example, we bought a Spanish style house
Mhm.
in, I don't know, 110th area
Mhm.
with an 11,000 square foot lot. House is in great shape, got it for a good deal. I can build a house in the back, 1,200 square feet. Now it makes sense to keep as a rental because I paid, I'll be into it for 650 grand total.
Mhm.
All right. And I'll probably get 600 or 6,500 in rent on those 2 houses. So I love that. So I do love multi units. I don't like anything right now as far as flipping above 4 units. It's out of my sandbox, so to speak. So we focus mostly on single families.
Uh-huh.
And then as far as owning versus renting, I encourage people, unless you get a smoking hot deal, you do not buy right now. Right. I would sell at the top of the market, rent for a year or two until this thing does its dance, and then buy a fixer and create your dream house with your tastes. Because every time you buy a house from somebody else, you're buying their tastes, right? You're
Mhm.
not buying your own, and even if it's a new turnkey with white shaker cab, it's still not what you would have picked. Maybe once in a while you'll see someone buy a house that with their taste. So I love the idea of, right now is a great time to sell a house. Go live on the coast, go live where you want to live, right? And
Mhm.
then, but make sure you own real estate. Right now, we're focused out of state. We're buying stuff out of state with great cash flow. We've moved our money out there because California I think this is the time to kind of exit,
Mhm.
and liquidate. And it's not a time to buy because we're at the top. It's gonna go down. If you could go back, this is 2006 all over again. If I could go back, I can't tell you how many people in 2006 were bragging about all their equity, how much money, how much they were worth, and 2 years later, they're like, oh my gosh, I should have taken the equity out.
Mhm.
I should have done I should have done this, I should have done that. The battle cry of failure is I should have, right? If
Yeah.
only. And so, I say it's a good time to rent, live where you want to live, liquidate if you sell, and if you're gonna buy, make sure you buy at 50, 60 cents on the dollar direct to a homeowner if you can.
Yeah.
So and again, I did that. I bought a house in Costa Mesa. I got it for 50 cents on the dollar. It's a mile from the ocean. I did buy, and it's something but I'm adding 1,000 square feet. I'm doing it at my cost, and it'll be a great opportunity. It's again, if I need to house hack it, so I'm kind of going to house hack it, live out there for a while as the kids decide to go off to college and things like that. So yeah, so hopefully that answers that question. As I would encourage people to rent right now, and to let the market do what it does. It will happen, no doubt. Always has, always will.
Let me ask you this. Let me play devil's advocate on that a little bit. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, like, do you feel like the whole ADU law could actually make prices go up versus down? What I mean by that is, a couple of years ago, you couldn't make sense of a single family residence because you are paying a certain mortgage and your rent is only this much. But now with like the whole accessory dwelling unit law, where you can take a single family residence, maybe partition a junior ADU and do an ADU, now you've got 3 times the rent on that. Now, when you look at the mortgage that you're collecting and you're looking at the potential rent, the cash flow not only pays for the mortgage in some cases, but it basically, if you factor in all 3 rents, it supersedes that. So do you see any effect on that on real estate markets potentially not or staying up in comparison because of that?
Well, the market's got to cycle out. So the fact that we're building ADUs is going to help our market a little bit, right? But most people, the 90% of the state is not going to do ADUs, right? So ADUs are going to help. Obviously the planning department is completely backlogged on these things. You're doing it, I do it. We know that's the case. So I subscribe to an economist and I get the data, and he's smarter than I am, so I kind of follow it. And the data does not look good. We've had a little spike because of low interest rates. Remember 2019, when interest rates went up to 4.5% for a very short period, the market freaked out. Yeah. Interest rates can't stay sub 4% forever. It does not work that way. A 5-year CD is paying 0.5% over 5 years right now. We have negative interest rates in other parts of the world. We can't sustain like this. That's not how it works. We can't keep pumping money into our system and with pandemic relief and think that at some point we don't have to pay for it. And the fact that we have an eviction moratorium. So you got a whole bunch of people that are mom and pops that own a couple of rental properties that aren't going to be able to pay their mortgage for much longer when somebody doesn't have to pay rent. And so that will start what I call the great fallout. This will crash again. The ADU thing might kick the can down the road a little bit. I think it'll help. And I don't know if I answered your question, but if the average person watching this had the opportunity to buy a single family house and add to a junior ADU and a main ADU, absolutely. I think I went and did a bid for a lady in Highland Park last week, and she had a garage conversion. She added 200 square feet, so 600 square feet. She's getting $2,100 a month in rent for a garage. Yeah. And then her neighbor was getting $2,300. I don't know what kind of tenants they got, but they got tenants paying that much. And then she was going to kill her brand new kitchen and the master bedroom to turn it into a junior ADU so she could rent that out for another $1,800, right? And she's going to be basically mortgage free.
The reason I ask that, Sam, is just because along with prices getting very expensive, rents have actually shot through the roof as well too. I don't know if you've kind of kept up with some of these rent prices. They're high relative to how they were in the past.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. What's your thoughts on Uncle Sam just printing out trillions of dollars? Do you see any effect on prices staying up because of that at all?
Well, we worry about a hyperinflation, right? So that's the concern. We see housing prices go up. We're going to see gas go up again here, just with the new administration. That's how it works. That's just the rules under when things change. So we'll see that in the near future. We'll see how it affects us. I just look back at my fill-ups over the last few months, and I think every time I fill up my cart now, it's gone up $15 over what it was just a few months ago. Sign of the times. It's just the rules change, right? And so I think there's no way houses can continue to go up and rents can't continue to go up because people can't afford it. Interest rates are sub 3. So that's the only reason why people can afford what they are. But what happens when they go back up to 4%, 5%, 6% like they used to be? We can't stay like this forever. So I actually think that we're going to see not a 2008. I don't think this will be 2008, but I think if you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, I think that's what we'll see. And back then, over a 5-year period, we saw 25% drop in Southern California. I think it'll be similar. And remember, we had a population decrease for the last 2 years in California. This last year was a net 120,000 loss of population. That's not a good sign for California. And as these taxes continue to go up, just prepare to pay more tax. Maybe we lose the $11 million estate tax that we get the benefit from. I know they're going to attack our mortgage tax deduction again because Trump's plan is going to go away. So they'll be looking at changing that. They've already affected people that are high income earners, right? They don't get that same benefit. And so, yeah, I think, at some point, the storm comes. It always does. And you just got to be ready for it. And that's a great time for us flippers because I'll tell you, I did really well between '08 and 2013, and it's been a lot tougher from 14 to now, right? You have to have a really sharp sword in this game because HGTV has turned everybody into a flipper, right? Everybody does it. And so it's at some point, again, this will go back to just like you saw in that month in March and April, or that 2 month period where it got a little strange. It will.
Here's what I tell people. What I tell people as well, too, just to piggyback on that, is that it's all depending on the deal. Because I'm sure that you bought some properties in 2021 where you have bought it at a ridiculous price. And you're kind of just like, wow, like how did I, like the Pasadena house, even though the market is high, you bought it at a steal of a price. So in that case, it doesn't matter if prices are up. It doesn't matter if prices are down. A deal is a deal, So I bought a couple properties like that. I'm just like, I don't care. So what I preach to people is sometimes I think that people get into the wrong mindset, and this is not you, but they get into a mindset that I'm just going to wait till the market crashes to buy property, not knowing that there's good opportunities in every market. And if you are paying attention and you capitalize on one of these opportunities, it doesn't matter if the marketplace drops or goes up because the good deal is going to be a good deal. And it just depends if the numbers make sense for you. And that's something that obviously only you can determine. So let me ask you this before we wrap it up. Like, what advice would you give to somebody that's looking to get into real estate investing? Maybe somebody that's a newbie investor, got a little bit of capital, but is wanting to invest in real estate? Because I've got a couple of people like that always say, Jose, I want to get in. What should I do?
Well, because it's a very shark infested business. There's a lot of wolves. It's a dangerous business. YouTube can teach you quite a bit. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't fill in the gaps. So you need to have a mentor of some sort. I would never ever encourage anybody to dive in these waters, and with properties that are hundreds of thousands of dollars without some type of help. So you need to find someone that is willing to help guide and direct you. And I think I did that, and again, my friend that went and paid a guru that was in another state and got great classes, he didn't have someone to walk properties with him. He didn't have someone to help him raise money. How do you fire a contractor when you need to fire a contractor? I think you need to find someone that's seasoned enough, not a newbie, seasoned enough to where they can tell you when a deal is not a good deal. Because really, you need to learn how to analyze deals and understand the construction costs, like we talked about earlier. Because if you don't, you could lose money just as fast as you make it in this business. And you don't want to be a one and done, right? So if you don't want to be a one and done, don't be afraid to invest in a mentor. We do it. We pay for college. I went and got a college degree. I paid for that education so I could go get a good job, right? Why would you do it any different in real estate in a world where you could lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, And I've seen it happen so many times. And it's because people don't want to pay. I get it. I didn't like it either. I didn't like having to work for free for a year and a half. But just like you said with Napoleon Hill, no such thing as something for nothing. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to get a free program and think that it's going to teach you what you need. You actually have to, if you, like, my time is really valuable. I've been doing this. I've been in the trenches. I've been beat up and left to die many, many times on deals. And so I feel like my time is really valuable. So if you spend time with me, just make sure, that you're a value add, just like I did for my mentor. I always listened and I stayed quiet and I tried to add value and bring him money or investors the same way I did with the second mentor. So that would be my advice. Get in, learn on YouTube. YouTube's got some great educators out there. You're doing some great things on YouTube. I love that. I hope to, I'm inspired to do it myself. Right. But learn on YouTube because it's great for learning, but then you really need someone to guide you, because you're going to go sit with a homeowner and they're not just sitting with you, they're sitting with other people as well. And how are you going to beat me? I have so many different answers to those questions. Even in someone in foreclosure, I know 7 ways to help them. Right. you're going to be able to offer them cash, right? The average person that's brand new, they're not going to know how to overcome objections. And so I think it's important to go into those meetings with somebody by your side and be willing to pay for it. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, I think it's important as well too. So Sam, if somebody enjoyed what you said and somebody maybe wanted to hire Fortune Weavers to coach them, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, go to fortuneweavers.com. We have an 800 number there, 1-800-758-5957. Fill out the form and someone will reach out to you. And we have programs on all different levels for people that either don't have any money and people that want a guaranteed deal. So we have all different types of programs. My heart goes out to people because I started without any money. I had to give my time, and we have that same type of program for people, all the way up. And so I never want to discriminate against somebody that doesn't have the financial means, because I didn't, right? My buddy goes and gives 60,000 to a guru. I didn't have that as a teacher. So I had to create it. And so yeah, that's how you would do that. Go on there and we'll give you a call back, and we interview people. We don't just let people in. We want to make sure you're coachable and that we can actually help you, because I can't help everybody, right? And we actually add about somewhere between 2 to 4 students a month, because we're hands-on. And so we're a little unique that way. Anyway.
Well, I think it's important because, like, I'll give you an example. I had a client, Sam, who was flipping her first property. Her grandma let her borrow money to flip the property, and basically it went sideways, and she ended up losing half of her grandma's money. And essentially, like, some of those situations could be somewhat prevented. Everything from how to hire the right contractor, how to do the renovations that are going to add the most money, how to select the right real estate agent to market the property correctly, what things are going to help the most. Essentially, I'm glad that we were able to get the property sold for her, but essentially, and I was the second agent that she hired. So the first agent didn't sell it in a year. Imagine a year of holding costs with a hard lender. It was that wiped out like $30,000, $50,000 worth of profit right there, Yeah. So there's a lot of things. But cool.
So true.
I've enjoyed time together. Anything else that you think that we should add?
No, I think I'm just looking at some of the questions here. I think the only thing is when you're going out there and you're trying to compete with seasoned investors, because we're doing generally 30 to 40 projects at a time, but there's plenty of people that are doing 100. They're buying 100 a month. We have some big groups out there we're competing with that have deeper pockets. Understand that there's a deal on every street. Somebody needs your help. There's opportunity there. There's plenty of people that would love to invest in a rehab project and make the kind of returns that they can as a partner. Don't let money hold you back. Do not let, if you're at a stage in your life where, hey, you know what, I'm looking for a career change, or I want to do something a little different. Real estate allows you to grow exponentially your wealth so much faster than you would if you're just trying to save money, or, I know people are real hot on the stock market right now. That's great. I think you should be diversified, but the idea of not investing in real estate is crazy to me. Hey, and I'll tell you, you've heard the quote, 90% of all millionaires did so through real estate, right? That was written over 100 years ago. And if you Google it, you Google 90% of millionaires hold their money or earn their money today, it'll still say in real estate. So if that's something that inspires you, I'd love just to chat. I like going to lunch with people, and I love sharing kind of my story. And we're a little different. I used to be the greedy guy because I was all about the money. Because I don't come from money. I didn't get $1 million loan, right? I don't come from it, and so I love the underdog. I love to see the person who things were stacked against them, and then they make a few changes slowly, not all at once, and to be able to escape the rat race with realistic expectations, not thinking it's going to happen in 6 months. It doesn't happen that fast. It takes time. Learn to follow rules. There's rules of the game, and you cannot break them or you will pay for them. So with that, hopefully that's some good information. Thank you for having me on here.
No, I've enjoyed it, and I think you're right. I think it's good to have a mentor. I went from no deals in 6 months to 9 deals in the next 6 months. No mentor to having a mentor. So essentially, earning 100% of nothing is nothing. Earning 50% of something is actually something. So that's my final thoughts for everybody.
Great.
Episode number 52, Sam Weaver. Thanks so much. I appreciate your time, and we'll stay in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me on.
Likewise. Pleasure, man.